Good morning, and welcome to our time of coffee together. I'm still in the basement. It's still hot. Humidity's curling my hair a little bit here, as we're staying down here. But the coffee's still good, so still works nicely. And so you may have been able to tell the topic from this Sunday sermon is a passionate one for me, right? This idea of welcoming. Um, and perhaps changing the way that church does welcoming, shall we say. I'm 31, and in my now over 3 decades of existence, right, I've only known a church in decline. I've never seen this thing I hear about from the 1950s and 60s, this amazing church that was growing, that was an institution in society that shaped the national conversation. Yeah, I've never experienced that. I've only experienced a church that's shrinking, losing its way, bickering with itself on what it should say. Yeah, I mean, I've only known the LCA as it is. I don't know its predecessor bodies. I wasn't alive, right? And yet I see a church that's still determined to do things like welcoming, like we did in 1950 and 60. As if that's going to work, even though I can tell you, I've seen 31 years of it not working. What are we waiting for? We can't do it this way anymore. Wait, and the truth is, the decline started before 31 years ago, by the way. We can't do it this way anymore. And in fact, I know you at Living Waters know that to be true because Living Waters has done new things. Living Waters has grown. We got to find that cutting edge again. Because yes, the cutting edge is the trick. The cutting edge, the new ideas, the new ways to reach hearts and minds in 1995 is different than 2020. We got to be ahead of the times. And so, this idea of outreach, welcoming, radical hospitality, as you could probably tell, there's a lot there. There's a lot of room for the church as a whole to grow. And I really think we can be leaders in that here at Living Waters. I think we have the opportunity with our setup, with our folks and gifts. I think we can be a model that hopefully can help the greater church move forward. But there is work to be done. Make no mistake. Drink up. It's not going to happen overnight. Let's start there. I think we need to change our mindset, and I believe it can be done. I've been in places when mindsets have changed and people have shown up. God's capable of doing this. So, this week, as you can tell, I couldn't get all this into I don't even know how long the sermon was. Probably too long. It was probably too long. But the gospel passage was shorter, so it was okay. But I couldn't get it all in a sermon, right? And we're going to explore another facet of it this next Sunday. But this week, during our time having coffee together, how better than to help center ourselves, to help ourselves grow, than continue to focus on this topic, to engage in this conversation. And I don't want to leave the impression I know it all. I don't. Like most pastors, I'm making this up as I go, as the Holy Spirit leads, hopefully, right? So I think the first piece of authentic welcoming, which actually I did talk about in my first sermon with you because I knew this would be an emphasis for us, little did I know COVID was going to come, but it's intentionality. Why are you asking people to join your church? It's because the bottom line's not being met? But I've never been in a church that's met its budget. By the way, speaking of 31 years, never been in a church that's met its budget. Is it because gotta have the young people? It's too much silver, white, or no hair around. Gotta have the next generation. Is it a mindset of scarcity that is motivating us? Because there's two stenches the church can put out that is very off-putting. Stenches are, especially someone who smells really strongly, stenches are too much, bad. There's two that the church is often guilty of. One is the stench of death, that we have allowed ourselves to decline to a point where there's no return, and everyone knows it. And it just reeks, like Lazarus in the tomb. It smells. And the other, which I don't think it's the stench of death, but I think if we're not careful, it's the stench that every church congregation can fall into, is the stench of desperation. We're in decline. The church is in decline. We need the young people. We need more money. We need better attendance. Money and attendance isn't a good reason to do anything. We're the church. We don't operate by a bottom line. We operate as God leads us. Not that, of course, financial giving is not important, but it's not our first emphasis. It's not. God is. In the teachings of Christ, we'll learn how to give, how to contribute in more ways than just money. If our intentionality of inviting someone to church is welcoming them into a life-changing relationship with Jesus Christ, that'll work. But it requires something. I think we can all talk about how we know what we need. Bottom line. So those we talk about. The world talks about those things all the time. Budget cuts and shortages. Again, scarcity. We know that. Loss and gain. How does the world talk about grace? That grace that we talked about in the sermon on Sunday. How does the world, well, not in the world, how do we talk about those things? We're supposed to be different from the world. People can get almost anything in the world now. Instantly, may I add. Why church? What is the one thing the church has that the rest of the world doesn't? God. And to be able to authentically invite, we have to be able, each and every one of us have to be able to answer a question. A very important question. Why is church worthwhile? Because if you don't believe that, and you're not even more so able to articulate why church is worthwhile, it's going to be a hard sell. Why is this relationship with God and with this community of faith important to you? If you have a good answer for that, people will listen. Grace has always worked for thousands of years. There's some things about this we need to do in a new way. There's some things that we need to do God's way that has always worked. So, I've gone and see this is already a mini sermon in itself. So I could just talk about this all day. Anyway, so today I want you to answer that question. Why is the church worth it? Why is this relationship with God and with each other something that people should be well part of? Why do we want them here really? I'll give you plenty more to chew on in one day. But we'll start with today. I'll see you tomorrow.